that have been killed, most of them in their homes, most of them have been directly targeted. The family of Wael Dahdouh being targeted in their home. The call that I got, or my family got, was totally different from the evacuation calls.
Was the tone threatening?
The tone was definitely threatening. When you identify someone with his entire name and tell him that I know you, and you call from a private number where you usually call other civilians and other residents with a number, and it's usually a recorded message. So to get the call in that way, in that same way, that is definitely a threat and not a warning.
So the family did evacuate. Would you just describe what that was like?
First of all, I wasn't able to evacuate instantly when I got the call. One of the problems is that the bombardments were very close to my home itself, not just my area or my neighborhood. They were in my neighborhood. And you probably know what happened in Tel El Hawa neighborhood. That's my neighborhood. So all the bombardments, all the explosions, all the airstrikes were in that same neighborhood. It was very risky for me to take my children and to go out. Second of all, I was asked to take my children and go to the south on foot. That was something that I couldn't really, it wasn't easy for me to decide on. And I felt that it was very risky. Third of all, we've seen civilians take that risk and go to the south on foot and get targeted. And even when they were in their cars, they were targeted, including United Nations cars. How can I, as a mother, risk my kids to that extent where I know that I'm throwing them under fire? No, I'm going to stay at home. At least if I die, I'm going to die at home with my kids, right? I'm not going to take them to the street and just risk that I would lose them right there. And I would not find someone to even carry our bodies back. I thought 100 times before I took that journey.
You did eventually get out of there. You did eventually evacuate. So what is life now? You're still working. How are you managing that? Both continuing to report and also trying to take care of your family?
Let me give you a picture, or let me paint a picture of how our day starts. For example, we wake up in the morning and our struggle for finding water starts. So we have to get our containers and go downstairs and start looking for water. So that's usually my husband and my 11-year-old son, Muhammad. He goes with his dad and they try to fill a container or two so that we're able to wash up. And then start looking for water. So that's usually my husband and my 11-year-old son, Muhammad. He goes with his dad and they try to fill a container or two so that we're able to wash up. And then our second struggle starts with breakfast, finding bread. For a while before the humanitarian aid started entering in the ceasefire, it was almost impossible to find bread. It was almost impossible to find flour. The quantities that are entering are very few compared to the number of people. And then the struggle for lunch, it's literally 6 days rice, plain rice, and one day either pasta or bread. So for me as a mother, I tell my kids, don't be sad, don't be frustrated. We're just like millions others. You guys are just like thousands of other children. At least you guys get to eat. We're sleeping together in one room, the 6 of us, and we have 2 other families with us in the same apartment where we live, each family with our same struggle. It's really a nation's struggle. It's not just a family or a group of people, and so on. At least in this ceasefire, they got to, breathe a little bit without being afraid of hearing the constant bombardment, the constant airstrike, the constant rockets falling. And the problem with Gaza is that geographically it's very small. It's a tiny territory. Homes are very tight, a lot of people everywhere. And that's why you can't say that this bombardment, for example, is happening somewhere in the east and you're in the west, you can't hear it. No, you just hear it as if it's next door.
Are the children upset when you go to work? Do your children ever ask you, why do you have to go? Do they ever ask you that, and what do you say?
They tell me that every day. They tell me, don't go to work, take it off. Why do you have to go and leave us? But I tell them that I have to, this is the only time I can do stories about people. I can move freely in and around the southern area because of the ceasefire. So I have to use that time wisely. And because, for example, we don't have electricity, there's no television, there's no internet, so they can't watch me, for example. We got very little essentials with us when we evacuated to the south. And I knew that they were carrying those bags, so I couldn't put a lot of clothes in it. I didn't want it to be heavy because I knew that they were going to walk for at least 6 to 7 kilometers. I ended up just getting a little bit of summer clothes that are very light. And now suddenly the weather got very colder, and it's getting colder day by day. And I can't even find clothes for them. I mean, this is another challenge for me as a mother. I go to the shops, I go to the markets every day. I try to get them anything to keep them warm, but I can barely find. This is tough. This is something, for example, this is a detail, for example, that other people wouldn't think about. But for me as a mom, it's killing me that I know that my 5-year-old is not warm because I can't find her clothes. I have the money, but I can't find the product, right? Other people, they don't have the money nor the product. But now we're all the same, right?
Well, this is interesting because you're living the story that you're reporting on. This is your life.
Exactly. I'm living every single detail in the story of others that I'm reporting about. It's just that I don't get to report about my story, or I consider that my story is not important. The important thing that I do is to report about others because this is my duty. This is my turn in life. But at the same time, people don't really know that I'm living all the same struggles, the same challenges, the same pain, the same worry, the same fear, the same everything, helplessness that every single mother and father and child in Gaza are living. And our kids are living the same as well.
We've talked about the danger to journalists in the current moment. The Committee to Protect Journalists, it's an organization that keeps track of dangers to journalists all over the world, says that the war has led to the deadliest month for journalists since the organization began collecting this information more than 30 years ago. According to the Committee to Protect Journalists, 50 Palestinian journalists, 4 Israeli journalists, and 3 Lebanese journalists have been killed since October 7th. Are there any precautions that you can take now? I heard you say earlier that you're not even sure whether to wear your press vest anymore. What have you decided about that?
Honestly, Michelle, I wear my gear because I have to wear it when I'm working, because my organization forces me to wear it when I'm working. And because legally, at least, if something happens to me, I'm wearing my gear, my protective gear that labels that I'm a journalist, right? But inside me, I know that it's not protecting me. It might even be putting my life in danger. Adding to that, media offices since the war 2021 between Israel and Hamas, all media offices in the Gaza Strip, including Al Jazeera and the AP, were destroyed. And when I say all, I mean all agencies, all media offices were completely and deliberately targeted and destroyed. And this is not just a coincidence. When everything is destroyed that has to do with journalism in that territory, that it's a coincidence. It's a coincidence if it's one or two or three, and then just because they were in that building or this building, or for whatever reason, whatever justification, but to completely eliminate or wipe out a certain, I don't know, like the journalism category from the Gaza Strip, I think that this is totally on purpose and deliberate.
I do have to say, and you are, as a journalist, understand that I do have to say that the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, explicitly say and have said that they do not target and are not targeting journalists. That is their public statement about this.
I believe facts and figures. I believe reality, and I believe what I am living. I believe what I am seeing, and I believe it's not like I can tell you any I can give you any statement, and the numbers and the pictures and the reality shows difference to my story.
So let me just say that